usually my best side is when I'm not looking at the camera. So I apologize to everybody tonight, but hopefully you guys can bear with me. So membership is the topic, and specifically Cub Scout recruiting night on this breakout. So I'm going to start kind of high level. I'm going to drill it down after that. But for those that don't know me, Kent Thomas, I grew up in the Theodore Roosevelt Council. I've been an adult leader since 2010 and a council volunteer for the last 3 years at the council level. Actually going on 5 years now. Wow. At the council level. And I am the council membership chair. I did a stint as a Cub Scout Cubmaster for 3 years and den leader. When I joined the pack, we had 58 scouts, and when I left the pack, we had 105 scouts. And I did a Scoutmaster stint for 10 years where when I joined the troop, we had 7 scouts, and I came over with the Weeblos Den of 7. And when I left the troop 9 years later, we had 53 scouts. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about membership today and what does that mean? And I'm going to start with a high level just to kind of paint the picture on membership. Because what we're asking is you to consider that membership should be a priority and really be a priority. To run a great program, you just need to have a little bit of scale to run a great program. And we're going to talk about why that is. But the main thing about membership to know is that membership in the Scouts across the country has been declining since the 1970s. And a lot of us are used to a process or familiar with a process where, you know, we wait for people to come to us. And the people that come to us are usually people that have had experience with scouting in the past. But if scouting has been going down since the 1970s and overall membership, I would offer that the people that have experienced scouting in their youth is also going down. And if we wait for people to come to us, it's going to continue to go down. Because those that come to us know the value of scouting versus those that are ones that we might want to go to are ones that don't necessarily know the value of scouting. So the bottom line is when we talk about recruitment, I am talking about actually recruiting, not advertising and not waiting for people to come to you, but actually recruiting. And we do this in kind of a cycle over the course of the year. So for those that are new to scouting, the cycle goes something like this. There is a troop spring recruitment. And in the spring, the troops are recruiting those 5th and 6th graders that aren't Weeblos. If we're doing best practices, we're actually focused on recruiting those that don't know scouting and bringing new scouts into the program. Because the other thing going on in the spring is a successful crossover of Weeblos and bringing in Weeblos to the troop. And what you're doing as a troop leader in the spring is setting up for an outstanding summer camp, because you're giving people enough time to get familiar with the troop and to get parents comfortable with the fact that you're not going to lose, abandon, or kill any of their children at summer camp. So the goal is to really focus on bringing in new parents in a consistent time frame and getting them acclimated, getting some bonding going, getting some connection to the troop, so that when you go to summer camp, you have an outstanding and awesome summer camp. Now, if I could show of hands, who was in Scouts as a youth that went to that first summer camp as a youth? If you guys should raise your hands, I'd just love to see who's participating. Patrick did, absolutely. Chris, all right. Matt, fantastic. I did. I remember going to my first summer camp. The thing about the first summer camp, and please correct me, anyone, if I'm wrong, you remember the first summer camp your entire life. That first summer camp is an absolutely life-changing, memorable experience, and you just never forget it. Now, the memory you might have might not be great because something happened, like my tent leaked, or it might not be perfect in that something went wrong, like a rat ate part of my sleeping bag, But the reality is you remember summer camp. And so what you're doing in the spring is you're setting up that memorable experience, because there's a lot of evidence that suggests when new scouts come to the program and they go to camp, they stay in the program when they go to summer camp. And scouts isn't just an hour and a half meeting once a week, sitting in somewhere. It is an outdoor-based experiential learning. So that summer camp is crucial. So that's what's going on in the spring. Last month we talked about having a successful back-to-pack night and getting that planned as part of Recharter. And that's the third step, is getting a successful back-to-pack, because you got to set the pack up for success. You know, you just bled all of the Webelos that were gone. Generally, the Webelos leaders are probably the most experienced leaders in the pack. Now you're doing back-to-pack to set up who exactly is going to be there in the fall. You know where the gaps are. You've got something covered. Because one of the main things you're doing as you move into Recharter and come out at the end of summertime in that July, August, September timeframe is what we're talking about tonight, and that is Cub Scout recruitment night. And Cub Scout recruitment is crucial to our success. Right now, we are serving less than 1% of all of our youth in our area of the state. And what I mean is Grand Canyon Council's footprint, not including Catalina Council. Less than 1% is what we're serving, right? The council we benchmark against in Denver is serving about 1.65% of youth, and they have double the population of youth in their program, right? Council, or a national standard for councils, is 2% of youth. That's what national would like to see. So the main thing we want to focus on in the fall is serving youth and giving youth the opportunity to be in the Scouts, especially those youth that don't have any paradigm of what that means because their parents weren't in the Scouts growing up, and how we get to that population. So I'm going to present to you some items tonight that are just you're going to think to yourself, that guy's crazy. There's no way we can do that. You're going to think to yourself, we can't possibly limit our options on what he's suggesting. You're probably going to think to yourself, he's just a mouthpiece for council. What does he know on this stuff? You're also probably going to think to yourself, he can't possibly know what's going to work in our troop because he's not in our troop and we're special. We're different. So I'm going to make a case for, why this might be a best practice. And I'm really just going to ask for 3 considerations. So the first is make a commitment to recruit. Be intentional about it, right? Just decide you're going to recruit, and you're going to focus on those scouts or those youth that aren't, that don't know scouts, and reach that population. The second is just identify a person. This person's going to be the person that is going to be the recruitment person. This is whose point, right? This is who's breaking the ice, breaking new ground, and setting us up for success. And then the last thing is just talk to your DE. Just engage your DE. Just talk to them on recruitment. That's it. Those are the 3 things. It's all we're asking is just engage on that this fall. Here's why we're asking to engage on that. I talked to you about the fact that Cub Scout recruitment is down and been declining for a couple decades. And I talked to you about the fact that we're serving less than 1% of the youth in the state. But the reality is the benefits of recruiting, it helps all of our leaders, because when you're recruiting youth, you are also recruiting adults to help you drive your program. If you're not doing that, you're missing out. But the reality is establishing with the parents, hey, we're just asking everybody to do one thing for the pack. That's important, right? And the reality is the more that you focus on, hey, just help with one thing, the more that people are going to help you. Show of hands for anybody that's seen the movie City Slickers. Anybody seen the movie City Slickers? Absolutely. All right, Rebecca's seen it. Patrick's seen it. Amy. All right, Rebecca, you win the prize for the best picture, by the way. I'm just telling you that right now. So, all right,
Thank
Amy
you.
as well. Chris,
It's me and my tiger.
There, you and your tiger. It's a great picture.
Yep.
Margie has, all right. So you guys remember in City Slickers. So majority of people have seen City Slickers. Alana has seen it as well. So in City Slickers, Billy Crystal's on the trail with Curly, right? And Curly's like, you City Slickers, you guys are crazy. You get all wound up. You think coming out here is going to solve all your problems. And he says to Billy Crystal, you just got to decide on your one thing. And Billy Crystal's like, what's the one thing? Curly says, I don't know. You got to figure that out for yourself. That's what you're asking your parents. Just help us out with one thing, right? Could be monthly, could be weekly, could be annually, just one thing. And if you do that, you're going to make the pack go, because it's the parents, especially in the Cubs, it's the parents that really facilitate the logistics that help the pack go. Every youth deserves the opportunity to be a scout, right? Every youth deserves that opportunity. We serve youth. If you distill everything about the mission in Scouts, it's that we serve youth. And we want to make sure that we do that. And quite honestly, for those that own your own business or those that work for a big company, it's the same thing in Scouts. Scouts is a business. It's a not-for-profit business, but it's a business. If you're not growing, you're dying. And so the reality is we want to bring in new blood. We want to bring in new ideas. We want to bring in fresh ideas. After being a Scoutmaster for 9 years, I needed new ideas. I needed new blood, and I needed to make the transition to somebody else so they could bring in their hobbies and their skills and their interests to the mix and add it to the mix. And we want to do that. And we want to be able to make sure that we can talk to parents about the additional support. So here's my question to the team. What prevents us from doing that? What prevents us from identifying the fact we're going to do this and identifying the fact we're going to talk to our DEs on how to do it, and use them as a partner and use them as a guide on how to do this effectively? And please just shout out anyone. What prevents us from doing this?
But it also has a very interesting layout of the camp. Just how working.
Sharon, I'm sorry, we can't really hear you. I apologize. It's coming in like you're ordering a Big Mac.
It has these interesting. They're very hard to explain. It's very
We got two computers going on here for Sharon. She's on another one, and I'm watching this one on this side. So we're probably picking up the noise in the background.
Got it. All right. So Sharon's not answering the question. All right. Got it. So, so what are thoughts? Honestly, what are hurdles on this? What are challenges on this? Anyway,
pride usually gets in the way of a lot of things.
Pride. Yeah. I mean, it does, right? I mean, we get in our ruts, we get in our habits. We kind of like, we know what works, right? And sometimes we fall back on things, but our own council membership has been declining. And I'm not talking about, the exit of the LDS church. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about the pandemic. I mean, pandemic definitely was a major hurdle, and we had a significant loss of Cub Scout membership in particular over the course of the pandemic. But Ray, that pride on, hey, I need to do this. I appreciate you pointing that out, because sometimes we do have that. We take pride in what we do, and so therefore we take pride of ownership and maybe what we're not doing because we think we know best. I totally appreciate that. What else? What else prevents us from actually just doing this?
Time.
Time. Paul, that was you. Time. Yep. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about making a commitment, right? On this, we're talking about something that's above and beyond just planning a meeting and trying to pull stuff together. There's definitely an investment. That's why one of the things I think that's being asked is, can you please just identify someone as point? And again, the DEs are there to be coaches and guides and resources, which is why, I mean, you're not doing it on your own. And so if that's the case, hopefully that helps with time. But certainly time is definitely a concern. What other things might prevent us from doing this?
There's something in the chat, but so I don't know if you want to tackle that before I say what I was going to say.
I apologize. I did not see the chat. Thank you.
It just fired off before I started talking, so you're good. You just missed it.
Got it. Got it. What prevents us from, Judy asked what prevents us from having a lead on recruiting and using the tools available, right? What are the things? I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, that's a true statement. There's a great resource on membership and the membership toolkit that's on council, on the council website. And well, actually, I think it's on the hub. There is certainly a lot of information available. But go ahead, Rebecca. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I would say another thing that could prevent or possibly inhibit even starting recruiting or knowing where to start is going to be in part a little bit of turf wars. And that kind of speaks to what I think it was Kurt who said with pride, right? If you've got a couple of packs in the same vicinity or potentially a pack or two that meets in the same location at different times, right? It's kind of like, can I even start at ground zero at the school that we meet at or the church that you meet at or anything like that? Because you don't want to step on toes too, and kind of towing that line and dancing that dance, if you will.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? I'm answering and chatting on 1 second. So yeah, right, it's actually, Rebecca, paraphrase that if you could one more time. Somebody was saying that they faded out.
Sorry, I took a bite of my chicken pot pie that I made for dinner from Sam's Club.
Nice.
So I had
to all right.
finish that real quick before I started talking again. So what I was saying is a little bit the turf wars aspect of it, where if you've got packs that meet either in the same location or very close vicinity to one another, being able to start at those, what you would think of ground zero points of the school that you meet at, for instance, or if you meet at a church that's nearby 2 or 3 elementary schools that are right there.
Got it.
But one
Absolutely.
of the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Knowing where to start.
And that overlap is a concern, absolutely, because the reality is there an issue or is there something that is preventing just being collaborative, right? I mean, there's a great management guru. His name is Patrick Lencioni. I don't know if anybody's ever read his book. His book is called The 5 Dysfunctions of Leadership. And he talks about companies being organized in the form of a triangle. And so think of this as in a similar manner. The base of the triangle is trust. You just start with this premise and this paradigm of trust. Everybody's here to do the right thing. But the peak of the pyramid is organizational benefit, not team benefit. That's the middle. And the breakdown that occurs in most companies is the fact that people are trying to do their own departmental success. Sometimes a sacrifice within a department leads to a better overall organizational result. And so what are you doing to benefit the organization as a whole? Here's a great example of that in play. A great example of that in play is someone saying, I'm not going to cross over into that troop because I don't like that troop. And the person in the troop who's coordinating it saying something effective, hey, you know what? That's fine. If you don't think the program's for you, I appreciate that. But find a program that is for you, and cross over, right? Find something. Keep your scouts engaged. Keep your kids engaged, and find a program that does work for you, right? So there's a couple questions that I'm getting in the chat. So, and Patrick, I'm going to defer this to you. Maybe you can help out with this, but
yeah,
what's the standard service level agreement? What's the standard response time? If somebody were to reach out to their DE, what's the expectation as far as the DE getting back to that point person or that unit representative?
Oh, well, like we'd love to make contact within 24 hours during a business day. So if you reach out to your DE, they'll give you some kind of contact within 24 hours to letting you know they've acknowledged. If they're in the middle of a project, they'll work with you. And but let me be honest, this is kind of the biggest priority we have. If you're not doing this, what are we doing? And so I know on my team, they're laser focused on new units and membership. And so I know that my guys and gals, they really, really want the volunteers to be engaged in this. And so I know from a barrier for us is, and I know that you're doing it right now, and I know that my team wants to do it every day. We want to get the word out and making sure that everyone knows about this. So it would be everyone's job tonight to go tell everyone else about what we're doing, so that we can change the culture and introducing new kids to this, creating opportunities all the time. I say that word every day, a couple times a day. We create opportunities as executives. And so I'm a field director and I manage 3 district executives. And so I get the opportunity every day to talk to principals. We were in one this afternoon, Gage and I, and opening up new opportunities for PACs, right? So we're creating, like what we're doing today with Gage is we met with a principal who wants to do scout talks with us. And so we're just looking for a PAC nearby. And we're right, Gage, and he can talk more about this even, right? And that wants to partner up with us because even just today, I was celebrating him. He had 2 principals in one day give him full access to scout talks and all joint scouting events. And really, that's the key, right, Kent? Getting in the classroom and talking to the kids.
So certainly that's always been a challenge to the council, and honestly, for multiple reasons. And what I mean is our council, because not all councils face this. This is a school district thing, right? Or for many school districts, it's not, and it's not unique to a school district, but it does impact us, council at the council level, because that makes it difficult. The reality is, and on this, and what I have found is that, Pat's a field director. Pat's got DEs that work for him. The challenge on this is that we as volunteers, we're not salespeople, right? And if you really distill what the DE's job is, they are selling scouting, right? And they're professionals. They're getting paid to sell scouting, right? Sometimes that might mean that they're out doing their job, and quite honestly, if they're doing their job, they're not sitting in front of their computer. And so they might not be available for email response, but generally the expectation is we're going to get back to people on a regular basis, and hopefully support them in that salesmanship and school access. But here's the best scenario, honestly, that I have found that works for this. The best scenario is a very active parent, somebody that's got a connection to school and they're engaged, and you know who I'm talking about, right? It's usually, I mean, traditional families, it's usually a mom. It doesn't have to be a mom. It could be somebody else. But the reality is it's somebody that's energized. And so they're in and they're talking to a principal. But that's not their job to sell. It's their job to open the door. Because if they can open the door and have a conversation with the principal and invite the district executive to come in, then the district executive's not making a cold sales call. They have a warm lead because they got somebody that's invested in school, because the parent has a child that goes to the school. And now the principal's talking with a parent and the salesperson, as opposed to the salesperson just beating on the door themselves. I found that works tremendously. And honestly, as volunteers, sometimes we take on more than we should on that stuff, because we're not getting paid, and we're not getting paid to be salespeople. We're getting paid to be volunteers, and everybody knows that's rewarding in and of itself. I wish I was getting a raise for volunteering.
Right. You're getting paid to do great program, right? You're getting
That's right. That's right.
Right?
That's right.
You get paid to see the smiles and the advancement, and let the sales dudes.
My payment is the light on the faces of the youth. I mean, honestly, I'm a relationship manager, is how I define myself. And when I see and have the opportunity to mentor youth in particular, when I see the ability to be able to do that, and I see the light go on, I find a lot of personal value. As a human being, I find that is rewarding. And that's what I absolutely get out of it. So yeah, school access is definitely the thing. The thing about territory, being, you're in my territory thing. I get that is so challenging. The paradigm I offer that we could look for on that is, we have youth that are in PACs because they come to us, and we might have 8, 9, 10 schools represented as a consequence of them coming to us. But if you think about how we can get really good at this, it's because of that partnership with the school. And if we get really good with a principal, and the principal comes to understand that we are there to serve and to help with the school in some manner, then we can get to a point where we just focus on one in particular. We've got an opportunity for the principal to say, you know what, we're not having the assembly without the scouts. We're not doing that without scouts. We've got to make sure the scouts are there. And all of a sudden we have that embedded relationship that is truly rewarding. So we might have scouts that are with us because they came to us from 10 different schools, but man, if we can focus our energy on that one school and get the door open and bring in the professional district executive salesperson and work with the principal and get embedded with that principal, that is powerful. And I can tell you that's what happens in Yuma. Yuma is so well connected with that. It is fantastic to see. It's a smaller town. It's a little bit easier in their end, obviously, but the reality is that they've got a great relationship with a couple schools in particular as a consequence. Other hurdles that are outstanding, other things that prevent us from just following up with the DE and saying, okay, I want to do this and I want to do it right. Chat that some of the stuff is advertised at the district level. So Alana, how does that work? Because the district doesn't have, a unit. So how does that work if somebody is expressing interest? What happens with that?
So it's a good, sorry, I'm gonna switch here. It's a good question. They're really, so we're Chandler Unified, and I know Higley has expressed the same thing, that you can't come to an individual principal, you can't come to an individual school and just, solicit or advertise, however you want to put it, your specific PAC. There is like a district kind of newsletter that goes out that parents can subscribe to. And so you can ask for, your information to be included in that. But they're not allowed, like if a parent comes to the school, the principal or the staff is not allowed to direct to an individual group unless, maybe if you meet at that specific school, like my kids don't go to the school that we meet at a junior high. So that, the majority of our PAC doesn't even go to that school. It'd be troop level, right?
Yep. Yeah, and that's a school board thing, right? And that's or a district board decision thing, right? As far as the Chandler Unified School District goes, and it's a challenge. So I'm going to go back to Pat on this. So Pat, what's the right thing to do on this? If they can only get that information out at that level and not have an individual unit, what would the option be?
I have some stories to tell on this, and Gage and Zoe, I'm sorry for repeating these, but it really starts with that parent and that principal, right? You got to develop that relationship with the parent and principal. So for example, Flagstaff Unified School District completely blocks any kind of recruiting of outside groups, Scouts, Girl Scouts, the mountain biking, archery group, they're all banned. And so what I did when I started as a DE in Flagstaff, I started developing a relationship with one principal, and I decided that we were going to do little things at a time. So we did bus lanes, and I put stickers on kids in a bus lane. That was the first time. And we started winning the faith and the trust of the principal. Well, let me be honest. Principals are kind of the kings and queens of their own castles, and they can kind of do what they want if they want in some districts. Now, this is what I'm telling you is not blanket across the board, but I will tell you that we are seeing that same kind of thing in Washington School District, Deer Valley School District, over there in Pendergast School District, Litchfield Park, Dysart, that's principals want scouting. they've seen for far too long kids destroying their bathrooms to put on TikTok. They want to do things that are for good and build community around their schools. So they're eager to have us. Now, if you get blocked advertising, talk to another school in your area. I bet you if you pointed around you, you would find a school within 5 schools within 10 miles, 15 miles of you. Work with the next one and build that relationship. Do a service project or a flag raising and start small, because eventually they're going to find great value in you and they're going to beg for you. And I'm seeing it over and over and over. Yes, district people don't like advertising because they've got to advertise for everybody. But if you convince that principal and change their hearts and minds that what we're doing in scouting is for good, and we show little bits of faith and trust, we've gotten a long way in that, and across the council, even in the last 6 months, by doing little bits and pieces that way. I hope that answers part of the question, but also gives you maybe a little bit of tools to get you maybe in the door. Yeah, I'm the PTO treasurer.
Alana's the PTO treasurer. Awesome, Alana. Maybe you can bring it up to the PTO and say, hey, do we want to push this agenda?
Yeah,
So,
well, yeah, but you can only do as much as you're allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But it's a great point. So, I mean, with Patrick's, I can tell you this. There was one junior high that was super close to the pack that it was a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade junior high, and so there was some scouts age kids that were in it as well. At the time that I was there, you couldn't recruit non-Webelos if they weren't in the 6th grade, and so we were recruiting 6th graders because we wanted more Webelos. We didn't really have as many Webelos as we wanted, and you can have a lot of fun with Webelos if you just have like a couple dens. You can have a lot of fun with Webelos. You can do a lot more with Webelos than you can do with wolves, right? So the reality is, we kept going to the principal saying, hey, can we do a flag retirement for the school? Hey, can we do a service project for the school? Can we do a cleanup? We went and we did one of the troop that we partnered with did an Eagle project where they rebuilt the concession stand near the baseball field as the Eagle project for the junior high, because he went to junior high there when he was younger. And so that partnership is when, we're human beings, right? As a human being, we want to help. When you do something for someone else, there is a natural tendency for somebody to want to reciprocate. So to the extent that you can partner with schools and do those service-oriented items and not ask for anything, just start the relationship, it can lead to that later on. It builds that trust. But that worked with us with the junior high in particular, the one that's closest to the pack. And that, again, we were recruiting 6th graders at the time.
And one thing I would say too, yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, one thing I would say is after you get that relationship, really develop that relationship and recruit solely at that one school. It's really going to help you in the long run. When we do scout talks and events things, we'll get one night's worth of effort and we'll get 25 kids when we follow do the scout talks and we get access with this principal. And it's kids signing up, right? And so that's really the key is getting laser focused and developing a strong relationship with the school that that you can get into. Sorry, Ken.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's again, approaching it from a service orientation, I think it's hard schools need money just like everybody else, right? It's hard for them to tell you no on something if you're offering to do something for them. So schools is definitely one of the hurdles, and I appreciate you bringing that up because it's been a pain in the butt for a long time as far as trying to get it to work for us. There is work being done on this, but honestly, one of the consultants that we had that are political consultants on how to push legislation that would give us access. The political consultants literally came back. It was us, it was the Girl Scouts, it was 4-H, and literally said, this is not worth your investment or your time because the Arizona legislature is not in a position to have this conversation. Now, is it something we might revisit again in the future? Absolutely. I mean, we'll look at it. But the current legislature that's there right now, this is not a topic that, in their best estimate, would be one that would have any teeth or get any momentum on. And so we decided not to pursue and invest in that. So
Did
two
they
other
explain
things.
why it wasn't
Yeah,
worth the investment?
I don't know how closely anybody follows the Arizona legislature, but the Senate this year is kind of very focused on doing anything that the governor does not want to do, and vice versa. And so there's a very strict agenda on strictly on party lines, and there was not going to be an ability to be able to get anybody to agree on this topic. Was their analysis.
Okay, I have thoughts I'll take offline then.
Yeah, it was, I mean, they were honest, and because honestly, they would have made a lot more money if we would have used them as a mouthpiece and as a political action group to go in and try to get the votes our way. And they literally were coming back and saying, you should not spend your money on this.
Yeah,
So
if everybody's more
they were
concerned.
taking money out of their pocket.
Yeah, no, and that
so-
makes sense. I just wasn't sure if it was that situation or if there was like something else more pressing that maybe I didn't catch in the news or what have you.
No, that was their assessment. So let's talk about recruiting versus marketing. All right, there is a difference. And again, if we're going to talk about actual recruiting, there's a couple things also that we need, because I know a lot of us are super good about getting stuff out in papers, trying to get some airtime, putting stuff out we can with whatever channels are available to us. And that's marketing. But recruiting is, hey, Johnny, I'm going to take your best friend, Michael, who is a member of this pack, this Cub Scouts, and we're going to go to an item. Why don't we pick you up and bring you? We'll take you as well, right? Or talk to the parents on, hey, we'll meet you there, or let's all go together, right? And really, one time I was with a pack that was just starting off at our church. Everybody that was in our pack when we first started came in 2 cars, and that was carpooling, and that was it. But it starts with actual recruitment. It starts with word of mouth, relationship, going out and talking to everybody, and then coordinating to bring people together. It's actual recruitment. It's not advertising. So I encourage, if you're considering that, if you're considering and prioritizing this, consider that as one of the items that a lot of people say they have a lot of success with. Again, I'm going to go back for the 3 things that we're asking for. The 3 things that are going to help make this the best recruitment we've ever had in the fall this year. Make the commitment to recruit. Have that specific Cub Scout recruitment night. Identify when you want to do that. If you're doing it any later than September, you're probably missing out, because everybody knows family calendars fill up fast. So depending on when your school starts, we were talking about the Chandler School District, that's July. Most of the school districts start in August, some start in September. So that July, August, September timeframe, make the commitment, we're going to do a Cub Scout recruitment night. The second item for sure is, who's the person that can just help coordinate this? Doesn't have to be a leader, could be anybody. Could be the one parent that said, hey, I can help with one thing, I'll help with this one event. All right, who's the person? And the third thing is, call and talk to your DE, or respond to them when they reach out to you. This is what we're going to do on this, because the DEs will be prioritizing this and following up with everybody. And this is, and all they need to know are those 2 things, because the rest is something that they can really partner with and be good mentors and be good resources to help out with. Anybody have any other thoughts?
Well,
Ray, go ahead.
that you're focusing a lot on schools, and I'll tell you what we're doing. We're averaging 1 new scout a week. We're up to 50 scouts, I believe, if everybody signs up. this following week that said they're going to. When we were down in the teens at this time last year. And we do the school recruitments. We hit all the schools in the area on their Meet the Teacher night. But where we've seen a lot of success is going in the community. This last Saturday, there was a local thing at Apache Junction Community Garden, a ladybug release. We got a booth there, and we went out handing out pamphlets and talking to people, and we had some rockets in the booth, and we had some cars in the booth, and we've got, I think, about 15 names and email addresses. I've already had one family showed up yesterday. I've got another one coming next Wednesday to check us out. We're having a picnic at the end of the month where we're shooting off bottle rockets.
But you're out at other events and using that as a door is what you're saying, right?
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. That's great. 2 years ago, I know the Santan the Gila River District actually had Pinewood Derby at the Ostrich Festival, which is 300,000
awesome
people.
idea.
I thought that was really ingenious, and they did open races for other people. I thought that was a super event. That's a great idea that you're talking about, and you're right. It doesn't have to be like Cub Scout Recruitment Night is like you're sourcing when you're doing that. I'm going to use a recruiter term here. You're sourcing when you're doing that because you're getting out and you're saying, hey, have you thought about this? And you're getting the interest out. And then a Cub Scout Recruitment Night is, all right, come on this night. All of you that we talked to at this event, come on this night. We'll get everything squared away. If we're doing it right, we'll coordinate with the troop and they'll entertain the youth and play games while we're talking to the parents, right? And get it done. And really just that last step of it is just being intentional on, hey, come on this night and we'll get everything done for you at that time and get you all taken care of.
And that's our picnic at the end of this month. Hey, come, we'll be set up. We're going to do bottle rockets with the kids, some crafts, and we'll get you all going.
And what you're doing right when you say that, Ray, is you're getting set up for back to pack because you're getting everything squared away before recharter.
Yes.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. Anything else that anybody wants to share? Otherwise, I still got to watch the last episode of The Mandalorian.
It's a good one. Don't listen to the naysayers.
All right, I'm on it.
I never do.
I got that, and I got the jacuzzi calling me.
It's fair.
All right, well, listen, I appreciate everybody taking time out. You didn't have to come to breakout. I appreciate the candid conversation. This is the real stuff. This is the real talk, and I appreciate everybody's feedback on it. And again, the three things are decide to recruit, identify who's going to do it, and just talk to the DE and use the DE as a resource and a partner to help make sure that you have the best recruitment you've ever had. Appreciate everybody's time tonight. Thanks very much. We'll talk to everybody soon.